This is a Louie Tee Network exclusive.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Louie Tee, host of the Louie Tee Network, and this is One Burning Question, a series that will take a look at all 32 teams in the National Football League and pose a question. Some teams will have micro questions where we look at the team in its current state and talk about what could potentially happen for them in this season. And some will take a macro approach where we kind of open up the lens a bit and take a step back and look at it from a wide view look and perspective and talk about where these franchises might be going in the future, not just this season, but moving forward. So I'll take a look at each and every single team, ask a burning question, answer that question, and move on to the next team. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy One Burning Question. Welcome to this In the Lab Room exclusive series, One Burning Question. As always, I'm your host, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me on this program. Today, we'll be talking about one of the most dysfunctional yet polarizing and fascinating franchises in all of the National Football League, the Cleveland Browns, in the midst of a very disappointing season. Add that to the list of disappointing seasons for this franchise, currently at 3-10 on the season. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns and their one burning question moving forward. Can the Browns make smarter decisions as an organization? It's a very bland and blanket statement and a question that is all-encompassing with this Browns organization, because you look at it and say there's so many problems, there's so many questions. That one question can't fix everything in Cleveland, but it's a start. They need a foundation in Cleveland. They need something that gives them a basis to get things in order. And I think the basis of them getting their organization moving in the right direction is just making smarter decisions. And one of the things that I've heard over the last week or so is that they're going to clean house once again. And that's something that they have to stop doing. They have to stop firing coaches. They have to stop firing GMs. And look, if you have the wrong guy, I get it, I understand. Sometimes the best thing you can do when you make a mistake is admit you made a mistake and move forward from there. When you try to overlook or gloss over the fact that you made a mistake and don't want to admit that you're wrong, that's when more problems seem to crop up and happen and things seem to exacerbate. So for them to admit that they made a mistake and move forward from there would be smart. But in this case, I don't think they have guys that are in the positions that they're in wrongly. I think that Ray Farmer as their general manager is an excellent hire. And although he made a very bad mistake last year, texting down to the field and was suspended for the start of this season, look, I think he's a really good, keen general manager with a good eye for talent. I thought the draft that they just had this past season was great. You look at their head coach, Mike Patton, 2 years into the job. I think he's the type of guy you can build around. He needs an opportunity, and first things first, he needs to have a stable situation in Cleveland, and he hasn't had that with the quarterback position being the way that it has been in his tenure. So there are a number of things that they need to do. I don't think firing Ray Farmer and Mike Patton at the same time is what they need to do, and that's what you've been hearing over the last couple of weeks. And I've even heard that if Johnny Manziel doesn't work out at the end of this season in the final 4 games of the season, that they'll both be gone and they'll start anew, and I think that's a mistake in itself. Now, has Mike Patton made this defense as good as many people thought and hoped he would when he took this job? No, he has not, and that's pretty disappointing, but give him time to implement the things that he wants and get the pieces in and get the right guys. They have to make better personnel decisions, and I just talked about smarter decisions for this franchise. And you look at all the moves that they've made over the years, and let's just take the front office debacle out of the mix because they've made so many moves and changes to their front office over the last 5 years in itself that just lends itself to not being able to win and sustain any type of success. But let's just talk about from a personnel on the field standpoint. They made some shrewd moves in the draft. We all know about the Julio Jones trade to the Falcons, allowing the Falcons to come up, get Julio Jones, and getting all of those first round picks and picks thereafter. But they didn't do anything with those picks. You look at the Samuel Watkins trade, trading back and getting another first round pick, which is a smart move on their part. And then what do you do with those picks? You get Justin Gilbert, who can barely get on the field at the cornerback position, hasn't done anything in the returns game. You have to make smarter decisions if you're this Browns organization. You take Johnny Manziel with a first round pick. You knew about the offseason struggles and the problems he had at A&M, and you still took him anyway. And so there are questions there to be asked. Can you make this work in Cleveland? We will see. You had the whole Josh Gordon situation, which I thought was actually a smart move, using a supplementary draft choice on him. And he came and took the league by storm and set it ablaze, but couldn't get his life off the field in order. And so you've seen how that's affected this franchise. There's been a number of moves that have really crippled this franchise. I think none worse than all of the front office turmoil, because if you're not right at the top, it's all but impossible to have the product on the field be anything but a train wreck. And so you look at this Browns football team, and I'll ask the question once more: can the Browns make smarter decisions as an organization? I think it starts this offseason with not firing Ray Farmer and Mike Patton. I think you start there. I think you build what you already have up, similar to what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing. They've stayed the course with David Caldwell at general manager and head coach Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley hasn't won games in his first 2 years as Jaguars head coach because they knew that was a reclamation project. But in year number 3, he's starting to get this program turned around. They're currently 5-7 on the season, 5-8, excuse me, and they're making some headway in that division. And look, that division isn't great, and that team still has a long way to go, but they're making all of the right moves. They're heading in the right direction. You feel good about where the Jaguars are, and that's what you want for this Cleveland Browns organization. First things first, you got to pinpoint who's the guy at the quarterback position. You have to pinpoint your signal caller. Jaguars have done that. Browns need to do the same thing. Is it Johnny Manziel? Isn't it Johnny Manziel? It's not Josh McCown. It's not Austin Davis. I can assure you of that. So the question then begs, who is it? And that's one of the questions you got to answer in this offseason, whether it be Johnny Manziel or it be someone else in the 2016 NFL draft. And it's not a great crop of quarterbacks, but you've got to make some type of move that gives this coaching staff a chance on Sundays to win football games. I think Josh McCown gave them some good play and opportunities to win, but it was just still not a conducive environment to winning in Cleveland. They have to make smarter decisions. That goes for free agency, that goes for the draft, especially goes for in the front office. This team will not win if they continue to play musical chairs with their general manager position, their president's positions, and also their head coaching position. So we'll see what happens in Cleveland. Once more, I'll read the question: can the Browns make smarter decisions as an organization moving forward? That's the Cleveland Browns and their one burning question. I'm your host, Louie Tee. See you next time.